These are 10 most unbelievable survival stories told on Joe Rogan Podcast. In episode 1060, Remy Warren recounts his terrifying close call with a charging grizzly bear, a survival story so intense it left Joe Rogan stunned.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
I purposely didn't ask you or talk to you about the grizzly bear attack because I wanted to save it.
You want it?
What is it like to have survived, literally being, 2 feet away from an attacking grizzly bear?
Pretty close.
Like you could have grabbed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Easily.
Oh, that was just nuts. It was one of those things. Okay, I've thought about it a million times.
I'm sure. How long ago was this?
That would have been early October or mid-October.
So you've had 3 months.
3 months to kind of think about it. Yep. And yeah, man, it's just one of those things that I've thought about it so many times in my head. And I've always been, I think Steve was the same way, like, oh, it'd be pretty cool to survive a bear attack, get scratched up a little bit. After that experience, I thought to myself, if that never happens again, I'll be okay.
Yeah, Steve used to always say, Steve Rinella we're talking about from the Meat Eater podcast, and he has a 2-part series on this particular bear attack. But he used to always say he wanted to get clawed across the chest and have, like, not a tattoo, but like a big claw.
Yes.
I'm like,
a little bit of marking.
Like, what are the odds that happens?
Yeah, I think that in order to get that, you have to go through a really, really horrible experience. Yeah. And there's guys that have had those attacks, or there's guys that have had those attacks a lot. But
yeah,
I mean, I've been around a lot of wild animals and seen a lot of things and been charged by bears, and this was just different. It was that kind of attack where while it's happening, you're going, this is not going to pan out well. Somebody's going to die. You're just looking at this bear, and it's coming in hot. And just everything, it's a weird experience. Your memory's a little foggy of it. Everything happened so fast, but it felt like it was so long. So the adrenaline just must overwhelm your brain. So. Yeah, and you don't even think about, I just remember... It was a weird situation. So I'll just kind of recap the story. So we're on a Fognak Island, and we're hunting.
And a Fognak Island is in
off
Alaska.
Of Kodiak. Yeah. So a Fognak Island has some of the largest bears in the world. They're brown bears. They are big brown bears. They can be over 1,000 pounds. So we're hunting elk there. My brother and myself have hunted elk on that island before, and it's just a miserable place to be.
What's a fascinating hunt, the way you guys were describing it, because just the fact that you would choose, out of all the places you can go, you pretty much can go anywhere you want.
Yeah.
You chose to go on this brutal adventure hunt because it's so difficult, and because because like Rinella was talking about this once, and the way he described it is like, there's things that are fun while you're doing them, but they're not fun later, like roller coasters.
Yeah.
And then there's things that are terrible and awful, but you'll think about them forever and look back at them fondly.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's that, after the fact, you think back and you go, in the moment you go, I will never do this again. And then about a year later you go, I should do that again. It's weird.
And what is it about the place that's so miserable?
Well, it's hard to walk through. It looks easy hiking, and there's just this big mountain where you can get to with a plane. You've kind of got to climb this big mountain, and the vegetation is so thick and it's so steep that it takes forever to go somewhere. So to put it in perspective, to go, say, a mile might take 5 hours.
Whoa.
That's how much like a mapped mile.
Yeah.
So the way the crow would fly, if you're just going a mile, and then another distance could take you half that time or a quarter of that time, but there's a big mountain in between where you need to go, plus the vegetation, and it's really steep. So you've got all that kind of working against you. Plus you can't really walk in just a straight line there. You've got to navigate around all kinds of stuff.
And there's you from, play some of this, Jamie.
That was...
It's been destroyed, and this is just a rough day. Real rough.
So that was after the bear attack.
Right afterwards.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out, because I right after the bear attacked, I pulled out my phone and was just kind of like recording everyone's reactions, and then I put it on my Instagram story. But I'll try to find it tonight and I'll post it onto I'll figure out a way to
Instagram
stitch
stories,
it together.
They let you save them now.
Now they do. Yeah, this was like 3 weeks before that, unfortunately.
So this place is miserable. It's rainy all the time.
It's high winds.
Thick, dense vegetation and literal monsters.
Yeah, I mean, giant bears. And then big, the elk are probably... What do they weigh? They can weigh up to 1,400 pounds, these elk. So the
Which
size
is
of moose.
way bigger.
Yeah, it's like the size of 2 normal elk, weight-wise. Because like an average elk would probably be around 500 pounds in most places.
A really big one, like we were talking about the California ones at Tajon, sometimes can get to 1,000.
Yeah.
This is another 400 pounds bigger than that.
Exactly. That's a lot. That's a big animal.
Giant animal.
And there's bears that eat those giant animals. So those bears are giant. The bears can be over 1,200, 1,500 pounds themselves. 11 feet or more. Yeah.
11 feet?
11 feet. It's nuts. 11-foot bear.
No. This one that attacked you guys, how big do you think it was, if you had to guess?
I would say, I would say it's 11 and a half feet because, because actually after we went in there, my friend who's a pilot there and dropped us off, he called me about a week or two later. He's like, they shot that bear that went after you guys. Somebody went in there, same place, bear attacked them. They killed it in self-defense. It was 11 and a half feet, and I think almost 1,200 pounds. So there's very good odds that was the same bear. I would imagine that it was. Because
in the same area, probably had taken over that area.
Seemed about the same size. When it came in, I thought, that's a big boar. It wasn't one of those ones you think, oh, it looked like a big, mature animal. In the piecing together what happened in my mind later. But yeah, so we're hunting elk on this island. Steve ends up getting an elk. We hang it in a tree. We do all the stuff you're supposed to do, get the meat away from the carcass. But we had yet to see a bear up until this point. And when my brother and I went in there a few years earlier, we just saw bears every day. We'd see 6 bears a day. So your mind's just bear, bear, bear when you're seeing them all the time. When you aren't seeing them all the time, you get a little lax. And that's where we really screwed up. Because the attack went down, no one was prepared. We were just sitting around having some sandwiches, and we're filming, and there was 6 of us all together. And I think that large group, that 6, is what saved us, because when the bear ran in, it was 6 of us sitting kind of in like a semicircle, a strange circle. And when that bear came in, we did that scatter effect, and I think that scatter was kind of like if a lion's going after a zebra, they use their numbers and stripes to confuse the lion. It was that scattering of things just going everywhere that caused confusion for the bear. So I think the bear went in thinking, whatever's under that tree, I'm going to kill it. And it thought it was one thing. And then when we blew up into 6 different pieces, it just tried to kill everything at once and couldn't actually get one person.
God, that's so lucky.
Yeah, it was crazy because we're sitting down. We decided, we'll have lunch before we hike back, because the day before we hiked a long ways. We got back to camp at 3 in the morning or something. I can't remember, 2 or 3 in the morning. We'd barely eaten. So everyone was just thinking, let's have lunch, regroup, hike out. So Pat, one of the other guys that was with us, brought the jet boil to boil up some coffee. So I was going around collecting water from everyone to get coffee, going around. And when I sat down, I took my pack off, and the whole week I'd been doing this thing where I take my pistol from the pack belt and put it on the holster on my body when I drop my pack. And it was that weird deal where I took the pack off and I'm thinking about switching. I'm like, no, that's fine. And I thought I'll just sit, because there's a few times I'd set my pack down. I was like, I'll just sit, I'll lay on my pack like as a chair, a backrest, and then I'll flop have the pistol right there. So it's within arm's reach and I'll be sitting there. Well, I go around and get the water, and then someone had moved kind of where I was sitting. So I sit down across from the pack where my pistol is. And then I was thinking about, hand me that pistol, but I just was like, man, you don't want to be that guy, like, oh yeah, the guy
that needs the pistol all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Not everybody had pistols. Just me and Giannis had a pistol. And then And then Pat's behind us. He goes, I hear something. And I look up, and that bear's like dead set. So Steve would be where you are. The bear behind Steve. So like Steve was between me and the bear. His back was to it.
Like how far away?
Not far. I don't know, 30 yards, something.
So the first time you see it, it's 30 yards. And is it
30
running?
yards. Yeah, it's dead run, super fast. And I just locked eyes with this thing. I mean, I see it coming in the whole way, just beady eyes locked in on me. And I think this thing's going to kill me. And so I'm thinking, when I say I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm thinking. I just remember what was kind of going through my head at the time. I thought, oh fuck, I'm gonna die, and my protection's right there. Like, I'm gonna die. This is that situation where I'm dead, and they talk about it, and he could have saved himself, but his gun's on the ground. And I think that was like, go for the gun was my whole thing. So I start to go for the gun. Giannis would have been here as I remember it. And so I start to go for the gun and realize, fuck, I don't have time to get to my gun. And it's 3 feet away.
Jesus
that bear's
Christ.
like right there coming down at me so fast. So I kind of do like a football juke move, left, right, and then wheel around right, do like a spin with my back, and then start running to the left. And at that point, Giannis, I didn't know this at the time, because I looked at some pictures afterwards, kind of piece everything together. So Giannis was sitting right next to me. I think he got up to turn. There was some trekking poles right here. He grabbed a trekking pole. So probably while I was juking, he reached around, grabbed the trekking pole, swings around, hits the bear in the face.
Jesus Christ.
So then I see the bear running off. Then I see someone going down the mountain with the bear. I'm thinking he's got someone. So I grab my pistol, start going down the mountain, yelling, oh, count off. I guess I yelled, count off. And everyone's like, one. I'm like, oh shit, who's missing?
Right.
And then Garrett pops up out of the bushes, and his eye, he's like wide-eyed.
So Garrett, a.k.a. Dirtmouth, was the one who was on top of the bear.
Somehow he's on the bear's back. So I think when the bear wheeled around, he like hit him, and he ends up on the back. So I saw just legs and bear going down the mountain. Well, I saw his legs on the back of the bear.
So
somehow.
You thought like maybe the bear had him in his jaw.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Wow.
I mean, who would think?
You'd be riding a bear. Like if that was in a movie, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here. You're not riding a bear.
I think, what was that, Anchorman, where the guy's like riding the bear in the zoo? That's what it was. It's exactly like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then we kind of circled up around the tree, and the real scary part was that bear. So it was so thick, you really couldn't see. I mean, you could see maybe as far as the wall is from us. What was that?
With the trees.
8 feet, yeah. And just real thick brush. And you'd hear the bear charge in again. And we only had the 2 pistols, Giannis and I. And the wind was so strong, there's no way we could have used bear spray. So we hear the bear charging in, and me and Giannis are like pistols out, ready, waiting for this thing to pop out at point blank range. Ugh. And then and you were yelling, bear, bear, hey. And then that thing stops, and then it would just, it would crash off, and then it would charge in from the other direction. So you gotta like circle around the tree the other way. And did that, I think, 3 times. That was just unnerving. It's like a horror movie where it keeps coming in from different angles. It was weird. It was not a fun feeling. You just felt so small. So
you guys had come back to the carcass that was hanging in the tree, and it had probably claimed that carcass?
We don't know.
It knew the carcass was there.
I assume. Now, the weird thing is it came in with the wind. So the wind was blowing pretty stiff and, say, into our face. Mm-hmm. And the bear came in with the wind. So he wasn't going into the scent.
Right.
Normally they go around, they catch the scent, and they charge in. So I don't know if he had heard something, if he was there. We saw what slightly looked like bear sign. Both Steve and I kind of pointed it out, but we were thinking maybe it was something older.
When you say bear sign, you mean bear shit?
Yeah, bear shit at the base of the tree. Yeah, and so I think, we did some things that were wrong, but in the instance, what saved us all, now if we were to do it 100 times over, I would say I would do it differently, but it worked out how it worked out, so I obviously wouldn't. I would never opt to just have nothing and have this weird scatter effect.
Yeah.
But I think that what saved anyone from getting hurt, which is a miracle, was the fact that when we scattered, it just confused that bear, because he kind of had this look after he started wheeling around, kind of like trying to pick a person, trying to go, and he couldn't target one individual. And then things started hitting him, and somebody's on his back, and I think it just freaked him out. And he went off to regroup, keep charging back in, but never made that full charge all the way back in again.
Wow. That's crazy. How many people have ever gone through a bear attack unscathed like that in a group of 6?
Yeah, and the thing about it wasn't just a bear attack, but looking at it later, had someone even been grabbed and mauled, not to death, but injured, I think that it would have been very unlikely that person was survived, because the weather that came in was so bad. I don't know if it was 100-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, you aren't getting rescued in 100-mile-an-hour winds, I wouldn't think.
Right.
I don't know. Those Coast Guard helicopters, I'm not really sure what they're capable of. Maybe someone would say, yeah, we'd go, but that would be a very hard thing.
In episode 1302, former Mexican law enforcement officer Ed Calderon reveals what it really takes to survive in cartel-controlled territories.
Well, I love your Instagram. It's very informational, and tell everybody what you do so people get a handle on this first.
I'm a non-permissive environment specialist. Basically, I teach people how to live, move, and travel in places where they probably shouldn't be traveling. How to get out of handcuffs, how to get out of zip ties. I show people how to survive in such environments. My background is in law enforcement in Mexico. So, I spent a lot of time down there. And over the years, that's kind of led me into teaching myself how to survive in that environment. And apparently, after a while, that made me kind of sought after as far as teaching other people how to survive in such environments. So I've been doing that for a while here in the U.S., military, law enforcement, civilians. Also.
Yeah, and you started working in law enforcement in what year?
It's 2004.
So you started before everything got really crazy in Mexico.
Yes. So you can kind of trace back where it officially kicked off by the start of the Felipe Calderon's presidency, which is the second to last president we had. He basically said, full on war against the cartels. And by that time, I was kind of just getting done with my training in northern Mexico as a police officer. And what I thought was going to be, community policing and stuff like that turned into a full on, here's a assault rifle and just go climb up on that Humvee with those military guys and let's go arrest cartel members.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So you thought you were just getting a regular law enforcement gig?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, there was no such sort of kind of job description. This was post 9/11. I was actually in med school, and that the economy and all over the border with the tightened security and stuff like that kind of went down the drain. And most of the money that I was using for med school, went away. And, that in the newspaper, young, unmarried individuals that don't have any kids, you're welcome to join type thing.
Wow. Young, unmarried individuals with no kids. They want that specifically.
Yeah, that was probably a big alarm bell should have sounded in my head. But there weren't a lot of opportunities for somebody my age there that didn't have a career. And I thought it would be, everybody said, don't go, but
yeah. I would have said that. If I was your friend, I'd be like, Ed.
But to me, it was a challenge. And a lot of people said I couldn't do it, and I did it. And then it turned into something that wasn't what most people expected when they went into it. It was a full-on urban warfare type situation.
Wow. So post 9/11, the borders get tightened up, and the economy gets very bad in the border towns. Is that what happens? Because people can't get through as easily?
It's heightened security, so commerce isn't as freely done on both sides. Border waits that used to take an hour now would take 3 hours or 4 hours, depending on the time of day. So, things got affected. Also, a worldwide recession situation kind of happened, so everything kind of went down the toilet. I have a lot of family in the border region, and most of our family businesses that we had, basically kind of tanked during that time.
So from 9/11 to here we are 18 years later, it's been a pretty radical change.
Yes.
Is that safe to say?
Yes.
100% change? Like what if you had to try to describe it?
So, I mean, basically the part of the country that I had most of my experience is the Baja, Sonora, Juarez type region, northern Mexico, basically. What happened is that all the cartels started fighting for the most rich drug routes on the planet. One of them, of course, being the city of Tijuana. So the city of Tijuana that's the corner of Latin America. It's the most cross-border on the planet. And with that, there's a lot of commerce that goes on in that region. A lot of things get shipped to Tijuana and then driven up into San Diego. And a lot of people have business on both sides. And among all of this movement, there's a giant organized crime war going on. It used to be overt, like on the streets. Middle of the day, you would see these cartel convoys arriving at a restaurant, and all the cartel guys outside with their AKs and stuff like that. This was 2004, 2005 era.
And what is the military or the law enforcement attitude towards that? Like, how do they handle that?
So we go back to 2004 when I first got it started, and it was look the other way.
Really?
Yes.
Look the other way.
Look the other way.
That was specific instruction that you got?
It was one of those things where I went there and I got a firearm. Here you go. Here's your Glock 17. Here are your 2 magazines. Here's your Mossberg 500. And you see all those cars over there? We don't ask them for anything. Let them pass. That's, we don't do anything of that nature. And then we would see members of the military as well, kind of go the other way type of situation. This is 2004.
Do you think that this was just to avoid conflict, or was it because of corruption?
It's always corruption. I mean,
Always.
at always levels, at all those types of levels down there during this time, there was a lot of corruption. Things changed, but things in a way, in some levels, are always the same. There was definitely some sort of pact going on, some sort of fear-based pact during that time, and when Felipe Calderon finally said, enough is enough, we're going to declare war, he basically militarized a lot of the counter-narcotic efforts in Mexico. So the military went from being, in their bases or manning stations out there to actually actively going out and looking for cartel cells and trying to eliminate them, right? So basically army on the street type situation. And another thing he did was basically a lot of the police chiefs around the country were being traded out for former military officials or military guys, officers. One of them was Lieutenant Colonel Leizaola. I don't know if maybe your audience could look him up. He's a very famous lieutenant colonel from Mexico. Actually has a documentary on him called Mexico's Most Bravest Man. Pretty interesting guy. He was the one that headed us up. He directed us at the start of these operations against the cartels. And he basically said, this isn't a policing problem. This is a counterinsurgency problem. So we're gonna militarize it, basically. And after he kind of took control, everything in it changed. The cartels weren't as overt as they were, so they started going underground.
So when you joined, you expected it to be regular law enforcement. When it became this counterinsurgency, militarized effort against the cartels, was there every time where you were like, I got to get the fuck out of this job? Like, this is too dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, my generation, I was part of the 7th generation of officers going through this program, policing. And out of my generation, the first year we had 2 of them in jail for corruption charges and 3 dead. Just from,
out of how many?
Out of 23 guys.
So out of 23 guys,
2 in jail.
5 gone.
5 gone. 2 of them very dramatic. 2 of them were kind of the origins of how I got into the whole counter abduction type thing. 2 of my guys got picked up outside of a hotel in the downtown Tijuana, and by cartel members dressed as federal police officers. The whole 9 yards, the uniforms, the car, everything cloned. They got asked for their papers outside and got put into a van. They found them a day later. Horribly, mutilated and all this type of stuff.
Tortured.
And that kind of that was this.
This is real.
This is real, and I should probably have a escape plan.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't. I didn't know anything else basically, so it wasn't like I had something to fall back on.
Right.
So, and it was good pay for what it was, and yeah, but fear. That's when fear got.
The stress must be insane.
Yeah, you're always on. There's we always had this thing on the meeting wall. It said, "There's no vacation, even when there's vacation." You would go on vacation, and you would get your gun to go on vacation.
Of course.
It was pretty insane.
Now, have you ever been confronted?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Of course. I mean, it's not. I have a lot of friends that are in military up here in the U.S. and it's not like them. They go off overseas and they do something in a different country with different people don't speak the same language. I was doing all of this in the place I grew up.
Ooh.
Right. So I knew some of these people at times. We every now and then I would say, "Hey, I know that guy from when I was a kid," or "We were in school together." And now he has a plate carrier with an AK-47 and a gold gun on his pants, right? And it's like,
whoa.
Episode number 1244. Endurance athlete Colin O'Brady shares his epic journey climbing Mount Everest and racing to set multiple world records.
What are my limits? What are our limits collectively? And can my physical expression of this inspire other people to innovate, create, and do amazing things in the world and in other modalities and canvases?
Well, that's one of the weird things about people doing extraordinary things like what you did, is that you absolutely will give other people fuel to accomplish things in their life. Inspiration is so critical for human beings. I mean, I draw upon it from so many different sources, from David Goggins and a bunch of my other friends, like my friend Cameron Haynes, and a lot of other people that are endurance athletes and different people that I've interviewed on this podcast. But there's something that happens when you realize that people can do extraordinary things that makes you believe in the potential, not just in that person, but also in yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, Goggins is a great example of that. I've never met him, but, I've personally derived inspiration from that guy. I mean, he gets out there, you can't run 100 miles. Like, I'll show you I can run 100 miles, and he's pushing his body to extreme ways. Or, I love what he says about the 40%. I think about it a little bit different in my mind, but like, what are those limits? I mean, I don't know if it's 40% or 50%. People quit, people quit. That I can't voice comes up. And, he's proven it, so has many other people, of actually, when you say I can, actually, when you don't stop, you get stronger. And for me, in my own story, in my own journey, I think that final day, that final 32-hour push proves it. 3 days before that, I'm videotaping all this. I'm trying to capture as much content to be able to share with people of this crazy, weird place that's Antarctica by yourself. And like day 49, day 50, like I'm literally crying into my GoPro being like, I'm running out of food. I'm exhausted. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I'm just like worked, right? But sure enough, I don't say I can't. It's that it was at 40%, was that 50%. That's that moment when I wanted to quit, or I should have quit. But then the strongest, most amazing moment of my entire athletic career that spans decades happens 3 days later because I kept pushing. It's not like I rested for 3 days and pulled that off. Like I never took a rest day in 54 days. I pulled my sled 12 to 13 hours every single day. And on the last day, it was the strongest as possible. So I think it proves if we can push through that I can't moment, no, it's not going to work, that you can get there. And unfortunately, we talk about 40% with Goggins. I actually think a lot of people quit at 1%. They're sitting behind their office. They're like, one day I want to travel overseas, or, I hate this job. I've got this great business idea, but immediately they're like, but I can't, like, I've got no money to start this business. Yeah. I've got no this. Like when I first set off my first world record in 2014, I sat with Jenna in my house, 1-bedroom apartment with a whiteboard. And we're like, I'm going to see if I can set the world record for the Explorers Grand Slam, something fewer than 50 people in the world have ever done. And I'm going to be the fastest. Climb Everest, climb Denali, climb Kilimanjaro, North Pole, South Pole, back to back. I hadn't climbed a bunch of mountains. It'd be pretty easy to say I can't. Oh, and by the way, we have no money to do this. We have no platform. I have like 200 Instagram followers. Like, I have like nothing. But we just sat there and we're like, no, instead of saying I can't, let's say I can. What's the first step to that? We literally get out our laptops and I'm like we're like, we want to build this big media campaign where lots of people follow and get press. Like we know nothing about, we have no background in this. So we Google, what's the difference between marketing and PR? I mean, we are literally asking Google like the most basic of all basic questions.
Wow.
But we continue to say like, let's get coffee with our one friend who knows something about this. We should probably get a website. How does one build a website? And it goes on and on like this.
How long ago did you start this journey?
So that was 2014 when we dreamed that up. So the world record was to see if
5 years ago.
Yeah, so to see if I could set the world record for something called the Explorers Grand Slam. So it's climbing tallest mountain on each of the 7 continents, 7 summits.
And before that, had you done anything like that, or had it just been athletics?
So I grew up in Portland, so I grew up like in the outdoors, but like, I mean, to go climb Everest, at Denali, right. Sort of thing, no. Like the short answer is, I mean, I climbed a few mountains, you know, it's not like I'd never been in the snow before. I'd worn crampons. It's like I had zero experience, but like not even close to the experience that you would think one would need to do that.
And to just break world records
right.
doing
not
it.
Just do it, but like be the fastest person to ever complete it. You know, like I said, it ended up being 139 days straight through to climb all those mountains. Didn't, you know, I think we had a clip up a second ago of something on Everest, but yeah, I mean, to do all of that, it started from this place of not of believing I can. And then, you know, it's fun to talk about the epic adventure, but for me, it's actually fun to talk about what happened behind the scenes of that, because what actually happened, like people, you know, applaud our success now. This is me.
This is you
in Everest, walking across a ladder that's, you know, about 300-foot hole and on the other side of it that you have to go through on your way up the Mount Everest climbing route.
And so your crampons are clicking on the and you're hooking them on the ladder as you walk across, and if you fall, you die.
Yes.
Congrats. Okay, great.
So
fuck, man, watch this again. This is so awful. It's so awful to look at, because you're basically just walking this tightrope on. Let me hear it. Listen to that click. Folks, I implore you to go to the Instagram page so you get the full freak out. Look how they're tied together too, those ladders.
Yeah.
Tied
just
together.
Rickety as could be. It's a 300-foot cavern over there.
Oh, fuck all of this. Jesus. And you're looking down because you have a GoPro on.
And we cut the sound off at the end there, but I go at the very end, I go, woo! Because like there was 50 of those ladders, but I was cheering every fucking time I got across. I was like, yep, one more down, woo! Oh.
You did that 50 times?
In the Kumbu West, I actually go through that section a couple of times. It's a very dangerous section of the mountain. But yeah, went about 50 of those ladders. So
when you went through Everest, did you see the bodies?
So I fortunately didn't see any bodies up there.
Fortunately or unfortunately?
Fortunately. I mean, I'm not like trying to see dead bodies,
right.
You know, but they're more prevalent on the climbing route on the north side. The day that I did summit, 3 people died on the day that I summited.
Fuck.
So to set talk about Everest, I mean, for me, is major setbacks. It was the 8th of 9 expeditions in this sequence. So I'd done 100 days of other expeditions leading up to Everest to do this Explorers Grand Slam world record. I'm trying to climb Everest. I'm exhausted from 100 days. I just come from the North Pole, before that Kilimanjaro, before that, you know, Elbrus, all these other mountains. And then I make my summit push on Everest. I'm not climbing with a guide or anything. It's just myself and one Sherpa who I met climbing in Nepal the year previous when I was training for this. And so it's just the 2 of us, and we climb up into Camp 4. So Everest has, you know, 4 camps. There's base camp, and then there's camps progressively higher in the mountain so you can get your body acclimatized. And we get up into Camp 4. Have you read the book Into Thin Air by John Krakauer or anything about Everest?
No.
Yeah, okay. There's a famous book that's written about it where 11 people die. And right in this moment, it's called the death zone, where you enter above 26,000 feet. The human body basically can't survive for long, even with supplemental oxygen. And this massive snowstorm and windstorm blows in like kind of out of nowhere, and we're trying to push for the summit. It takes us 2.5 hours just to set up our tent and get inside, and we know like it's over. Like we're not going to summit Everest like in this storm. There's no way. So we just survive the night, wake up the next morning, still getting pounded by this weather, and actually have to climb back down the mountain. So climb back down the mountain all the way to Camp 2, and they're like, well, that's probably it. Like you don't usually like spend a night out in the death zone and like make a second attempt, and you've already tried all these other mountains. You're 100+ days in this journey. And I was like, man, I want to see if I can get back up there. Like, and this other guy who I met on another team had some supplemental oxygen. So I had to use some of my supplemental oxygen. So my supply stores are limited now as well. And so he says to me, hey, I'm not going to go up. I'm sick. But if you get back up to Camp 4, there's a couple bottles of oxygen that you could use of mine if you somehow get back up there. So sure enough, Pasang Bodhi, that's the name of the Sherpa I was climbing with, amazing climber himself. We get back up to Camp 4 in the death zone, and we decide we're going to go for the summit. We call back down to base camp, what's the weather forecast? And they're like, well, it's the exact same forecast we told you before. It might hold, in which case you'll be fine, or it might turn into what you guys just survived. And if you're not near your tent and you're up on the summit ridge of Everest, like it's going to get like pretty bad. And so we kind of go back and forth. Should we go for it? Shouldn't we go for it? We just decide to go for it. But this crazy thing happens, which is, you may have read about this or heard of this if you know much about Everest, but basically, no one climbed Everest in 2014 or 15 because a huge avalanche killed 16 Sherpas in 2014. The mountain was closed. And in 2015, there was a huge earthquake in Nepal that shut the climbing season down. So no one's even climbed the mountain in 2 years. But all of a sudden, because of these weather delays, I end up there and there's 100 people going for the summit on the exact same day. So basically, traffic jam on the worst fucking place to be in a traffic jam possible. God. So Pasang Bodhi and I would go, okay, let's figure out how to climb this thing. And we leave camp. There's a photo that I took for leaving camp. There's all these lights going up the side of the mountain, and it's because there's one rope that everyone works to put in, so everyone's using the same rope. And all of a sudden, we're behind 100 people. And if you stand there, wind chill minus 40 degrees, like, we're gonna get frostbite, like, we're gonna not be able to make it. And so Pasang Bodhi and I look at each other and we go, let's unclip from the rope. And so we actually decide to unclip from the rope, climb up all the way to the balcony from the South Call, the death zone area I was mentioning before, up to about 28,000 feet on rope, because we actually think it's more dangerous to climb roped next to behind all the people than it is to risk a fall.
Right, you don't know those people. You don't know what they're like.
And people are, you're on Everest at 28,000 feet, and people are walking, one step per minute sometimes. It is brutal. And so, I'm walking maybe 2 steps every 30 seconds, but I'm like Usain Bolt, like, flying past these people. Yeah, this gives an example of, like, so you're in the worst place in the world to be, in a traffic jam, as you can see here from this photo I posted that day. But anyways, I get up to this edge, and it's too steep. It's too dangerous for us to be unclipped from the rope any longer. And we're like, we're just going to have to clip in and settle in behind. We'd passed like 50 or 60 people, so we're in a much better place than ever. I still have this one big puffy coat. It's actually the same puffy coat I used in Antarctica, the big, like, Michelin Man coat. And I'm like, we're going to slow down. I better put this big jacket on. And so I take my jacket off. I undo my gloves real quick to put this big jacket on over me to warm myself up. And I look down, and my right hand is black. Like, just black as black can be. And I'm like, holy shit, like, telltale sign of frostbite. Like, oh my God, like, the same thing. We've got school kids following along. We got family following the whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm going to lose my right hand. Is Jenna still going to love me? What's my family going to think? And then I don't say anything to Pasang Bodhi. I jam my hand back in these big gloves and I go, okay. And I don't recommend this thought process, but I go, well, if I'm going to lose my hand anyways, wouldn't it be cooler to lose my hand but also have summited Everest? So
how black was it?
It was black, like black.
Like, so, this can like that of coffee?
Can of, yes, like
really?
Black. It was black.
Did you take a picture of it?
So the sun was just below the horizon, so it was like dusk. And I look down at this point, and then the sun comes up. So I jam my hand back in this glove, and I don't say anything to Pasang Bodhi. I'm like, let's keep pushing for the summit. So we go for the next 3 hours, and the whole time in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Like, I'm gonna lose my hand. My hand's frostbitten, this and that. And so we get up, and we're about 30 minutes below Mount Everest summit, and it should be a beautiful moment for me. Like, since a little kid, I dreamed like summiting Everest would be like the greatest accomplishment of my life. Oh my God. And I'm thinking, like, just in this dark place, but I also haven't taken a single photo, basically. And I'm like, well, I got to get like a photo or a video of, the famous Mount Everest summit. So I pull up my GoPro to shoot a video. I shoot this short little video, which kind of shows this crazy exposure that I'm on. Like, one side, 5,000 feet down into China, on one side, 5,000 feet in Nepal, on this tiny little knife edge ridge. And of course, I have to adjust my gloves again. Yeah. This is from the summit. And I pull my GoPro out, I have to mess with my gloves, put it back in, and I look at my hand and I start going, waving my arms in the air, go, Pasang Bodhi, my hand's back! My hand's back! And he's like, what are you doing? It just so happened that the glove warmers in my gloves, the chemical hand warmers, had broken open, and the charcoal and the copper filings of the chemical hand warmers had dyed my hand black.
Oh, jeez.
And my hand was completely fine.
Oh, God.
And so, yeah, this clip here, if you play it from the top, is me reaching the summit. That's Pasang Bodhi right there. But
so when
I'm on the summit of Mount Everest, top of the world. No words can describe.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Did you experience any discomfort in your hands before?
So, we're talking about a lot of this podcast has been about mindset, which is one of my favorite topics. And like, just like we said, you can convince yourself that the salt man is fixing your foot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on Everest. I'm at 28,000 feet. My brain's not working very well. I know that the weather's coming in bad, that people are going to get maybe frostbite based on the forecast. And I look down and I see my hands black. Where does my mind go? It's not like, oh, let me think about this. My hand warmer must have broken open in this. I'm like, my hand, and it was weird because I was like, I didn't feel my hand getting cold. My hand feels fine, but I'm on Everest and my hand's black. That means, in my brain, I'm like, I have frostbite. So it's just like, it's a weird thing where you can take your mind, like a lot of this, the positivity of this. My mind went to the negative immediately, like, your hand's gone, it's frozen off, the end. Jesus.
So what happened to the people that died? Were they on the rope?
Yeah, so unfortunately that day, the weather actually did get pretty bad later in the day. So fortunately, I was able to get down before the weather got too bad. But the people that died that day, one slipped and fell down these ropes over on Lhotse, which is the adjacent mountain, but sharing some of the same ropes on the same route. And then 2 people died from altitude sickness. So basically either running out of oxygen up there and not being able to get back down to their tent. I think those people actually did get carried back down to their tents that night and then died in the tents that night. So it's called cerebral edema, which is basically your brain fills with fluid from being at the high altitude and not getting enough oxygen, and it's a killer up there. And one of the crazy things about being up there is you read about it, but you really can't rescue somebody very easily up there. I mean, to carry a human body down to rescue them is nearly impossible. And I kind of always thought in my mind, if I saw somebody lying on the ground, like I would summon the energy to pick them up. And I was actually coming back from the summit, and I was on the south summit, so just below the Everest summit, at 28,800 feet or something like that. And this Brazilian woman who I'd met in base camp named Thais, who I've become friends with. You're in Nepal for a couple months, you start talking to people, getting friends with other climbers, whatever. And I see her lying on the ground with her head leaned back and her oxygen mask off to the side. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the moment that I most feared. Somebody who I know is lying here on the side of the mountain. And I think to myself, I've got to pick her up. I've got to pick her up and somehow carry her down this mountain. And I lean over to grab her and I try with all my might to do anything, and I realize I can't move her 6 inches. I'm completely exhausted. Muscles aren't working. Brain's not working. So I do the only thing I can think to do is I just wrap her in my arms and I say, Thais, if you can hear me, it's Colin. You need to get up. You need to get your oxygen mask on. You need to start moving. Please get up. Please get up. No response. She was climbing with a Sherpa, another guide right next to her. And they were like, look, we're having trouble with her oxygen mask, but we're going to fix it. It's going to be all right. And I was just kind of going through this intense moment. I'm like, what do I do? How can I help? And it's this weirdest, I'm not proud of it necessarily to say it, but there was nothing I could do. It's just the most helpless feeling in the world where you want to help the common person, a friend. I mean, this person not be a friend, but if any human being is lying on the ground in the snow, you're like, I want to help this person get down this mountain. And I was just so close to on my limit up there at the summit. There was nothing I could do. Fortunately, she was not one of the people that passed away that day. Her team did get her oxygen mask on her, and she actually made it to the summit and back down safely.
Wow. So she went up from there?
She ended up going up from there, which to me is another whole crazy part of that story. But it was an interesting lesson for me in you hear these stories, you can't move bodies up there, there's nothing you can do to rescue, and people have been criticized for not doing these crazy rescues when things have gone wrong up there. But it really hit home for me how hard it would be to move somebody down that mountain from that altitude. And so when you're up there, unlike Antarctica, I was actually alone, and Everest, like I said, was a pretty crowded day. You're essentially alone up there. If you can't keep putting one foot in front of the other up in the death zone, there's not a whole lot that you can do.
So the 3 people that died up there, did they leave them there?
I'm not sure with those specific people, because sometimes you can get a large team of people to slowly lower people down. And, in a weird way, it's actually easier to lower a dead body than it is to lower a live person, because a dead body, you don't have to worry about breaking bones and things like that if you're lowering someone over rocks and things like that.
Yeah.
So I actually believe those bodies are no longer there, but there are quite a few bodies, still on the mountain, and particularly the north side, the Chinese, so you can climb it from 2 sides, the Nepal side, which is more commonly climbed where I climb, or the Tibet side. The Tibet side is known for having a lot more of the bodies still actually on the climbing route, for sure. So, but for me on that, that day in a crazy way continues on, because I got back down to Camp 4, and I'm thinking I'm going to sleep for the night, rest, and come back down the mountain. Usually takes a few days to get back down the mountain. At this point, I've only got one more mountain to climb to finish my world record, the Explorers Grand Slam. And I was about 2 months ahead of schedule. So if I had climbed Denali in the next 2 months, North America's tallest mountain up in Alaska, I was going to set this world record that I was. And so I called back home to Jenna, and I was like, I made it. I made it. And earlier in the day when my hands had gotten frozen, I had actually had heated boot warmers. And so I had turned the heat in my boot warmers up as hot as possible. So I'm like, if my hand is frostbitten, what would my feet look like? So I cranked those up as hot as possible. And so Jenna's like, hey, like, how you doing? Like, you all right? We've heard some, reports over social media that it's been a really hard day up there. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. Like, no frostbite, no injuries. Like, I'm good. And I was like, well, actually, I burned my feet. And she's like, oh, frostbite? Like, how bad is it? And I was like, no, not frostbite. I actually burned 2 like silver dollar circles in the bottoms of both of my feet from turning my boot warmers up too much. And she's like, wait, let me get this straight. Like, you climb Everest, you don't get frostbite, but you burn yourself? She was like, your feet, fire, like, just like, it's a bad situation. But then she goes on and she was like, she literally said, the next thing she said to me, I will literally never forget in my life. But she goes, so you're in your tent, right? You took your boots off and everything. You're curled up in there. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, I actually need you to put your boots back on. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, what? Like, she was like, yeah, so we've been doing some calculating back home. And it just so happens that if you can get to the summit of Denali in the next a week, you can set not 1, but 2 world records. And I was like, well, that sounds nice, but like, I'm on the summit of, below the summit of Everest. How the hell is that going to work? She's like, okay, put your boots back on down now. Climb all the way back to base camp. There's no time for you to sleep, but a helicopter is going to take you to Kathmandu. No time for a hotel, no time for a shower, but an evening flight is going to take you to Dubai, to Seattle, to Anchorage. And instead of having 3 weeks to climb Denali, you'll have 3 days. But if you can do all of that, you'll set another world record. Like, ready, go. So I was in disbelief, but knowing better than to disobey not only my amazing wife, but the planner and logistics expert in running the background all this, I sure enough put my boots back on, wiped the slate clean, and found myself, just 100 hours after standing on the summit of Everest, I found myself over in Alaska trying to push up to the summit to try to set the 2 world records, not just the 1.
Whoa. In MMA show number 39, Cowboy Cerrone dives into a near-death cave diving ordeal, revealing the mental focus and sheer courage required to survive.
The Ultimate Fighter.
Correct.
He really couldn't train properly with it. Yeah, it's going to be a different animal in the future when people aren't worried as much about permanent damage.
Right. I hope I need it because I do a lot of permanent damage.
Yeah, most damage today is permanent damage.
All these wild excursions I go on.
Yeah, tell me about the cave dive.
So you want to learn about cave diving? Okay. So, first of all, cave wants to take you. She takes you, so you learn about all these different rules of the water and of the nitrogen levels that you're taking into your body. Anyway, cave diving is about 5 years in. I got my certification in high school, and I am a super cave diver, man. I love it. I love it. I love diving. I love everything about diving. I love ship diving. Cenote days, caves, you name it. I love it. So we were in Cozumel a couple weeks ago, and one of my old, you could almost call him instructor. He's taught me a lot of what I know about diving today. We dove 3 or 4 days with some buddies of mine that were down in Cozumel. Just went through some ships, went through some just the coral reef, just playing around, diving with them. And then we go and do a serious dive. He's getting a little bit older. His mind is still very, very, very sharp, but his motor skills don't keep up with him much anymore, right? And in cave diving, it's very necessity that you need. So we jump in this cave. Let's rewind to 20 minutes. I just kissed my girl and my new baby, and she's like, I don't really want you to go, like, right? I don't want to say his name, but the guy you're going with, like, I'm worried. Mm-hmm. I said, what are you worried about? I said, I'm coming home. Like, this is what I come home every time. I'm coming home. Fuck, I don't know. So I order another cylinder of air just for extra. I have 2 originally I'm going with. I order another cylinder of air, just to fucking have it, right? No one's ever died because they have too much air. In cave diving, you dive in third. So if we have 300 PSI, we'll do 1,000 PSI in, We'll do 1,000 PSI out, and we have 1,000 PSI in case something fucking happens. Also in cave diving, they have lines. You run these in a cave. They'll already have a line run. A bunch of guys like me, tech divers, have gone into caves. They discovered them. They mapped them. They named them. And they put lines so you can follow them in case something happens. Right? Get in and get out. Lines and lines, and none of the lines really connect except for like the main lines. They'll have like 3 or 4 main lines down big channels of a cave because caves are huge, right? From an entrance to the main line, usually no one has a cave. You have to make it what's called a jump. You have to make your own line because they just don't want someone listening on here today to go find a cave, jump in, swim down, and be able to get in and out and get lost in there. Now all of a sudden we have a Thailand incident. We're fucking wanting to save people. So we make a jump, tie off. You put these direction arrows down. They're called cookies, right? Pointing out towards the direction out of the cave. So that way, if something happens, you come out. When you make a jump, you take your light, you wrap it around your neck, and then you have 2 hands that work on the line. The guy I was with didn't follow some of our rules. And in cave diving, it's kind of an unwritten fact that you only worry about you. I'm coming home, right? I'm fucking staying alive. So if Joe, me and I were cave diving, if something were to happen, I'm not going in there to get you. No reason for 2 of us to die when only one's in there can die. So he tries to tie off. His buoyancy fucking hits the roof of the cave, kicks his feet, spins, and now all of a sudden this line that's supposed to be tied off, which is our fucking lifeline, is now wrapped around him. So I swim over to him and I try to help him unhook this line, and he goes into panic, and panic kills everybody involved. Everybody involved dies with panic, and that's something that I can't express enough. So he starts fucking freaking out, hitting the roof, spinning, silt fucking everywhere, and I just back out. Take about 4 or 5 big, strong steps back, and I grab a hold of the main line. Now it's silting out. Now when I say something's silting out, there's all this like sediment that ends on the bottom of these caves, and you're in like a little tiny room. So if you kick your fin hard, it kicks up like dark dust, mud, sediment, silt. You can't fucking see anything. Blacks it out. So I back out of the silt. I grab the line. And I see him in there fucking freaking and panicking, spinning and rolling around and getting all caught up in this line. And I'm like, fuck. But I just stay calm. This was the exit. I know where it is because I know where I am. There's the exit. He was making a jump to go down another tunnel. There he is. Now, what I just tell you about the rule that someone comes home, right? I broke the rule, and I went in to get him. I said, fucking goddamn. So I let go of the line. And I go in to get him because his light fucking is off now. And I'm thinking, goddamn it, he's spun up in this line. His light's off. Did he drop his regulator? Does he have air? Is he okay? As soon as I go into the silt, fucking lose everything, man. Lose my way, where I am, my up, my down. I don't know where I am. I'm fucking panicking now. I'm panicking. Fucking freaking out more than any I've ever. Breathing hard. Bang. Hit my head on the fucking ceiling. And I just close my eyes and I'm like, God damn it, cowboy, calm the fuck down, calm the fuck down, calm the fuck down. Breathe. Can't even see my hands in front of me. I have 2 watches on. They're glowing, right? Those are to let me know my depth, my time, everything, right? I have two dive computers. I check them. I look. I calm. I check my light. I got to turn my light and burn my our pressure gauges. They're glow in the dark, right? So I charge it with my light, and I look at okay, air. Check my second one. Okay, air. I know my third one's good because I haven't even opened it yet. That's just in case. I breathe down. I fucking think, and I can't even see my hands in front of me. And to this day, I close my eyes, and it gives me nightmares right now just thinking about it. Cloudy, dark, can't see anything. All I can see is the hum of my light. So I turn my light off, and I'm trying to think like, all right, just calm yourself. Figure this out. Where's our partner? I start feeling around, and he's nowhere to be found. Right, nowhere to be found. So I'm now calm myself a little bit. And I start feeling the walls, and I start moving around. I'm trying to think, where am I? But I don't know because we haven't been down this channel yet, so I don't visually haven't made an imprint of, oh, there's that, there's this, right? Kind of like a mental imprint in my mind, because that's what we're doing as we're coming in, landmarks, right? I don't have any of those. I don't have any feel. I don't have any touch. And I'm moving around. I took a compass reading of the direction of the front when we tied off at the first jump, right? So I know 126 degrees is the way out. But in a cave, they twist and they move and they're up and they're big and they're deep and they're low, right? There's no like rhyme or reason how the water made the cave. So it's kind of a direction I can think of. The first thing that comes to my mind, and I start swimming that way. Now I hit a wall, boom. And I go down and hit a wall, and I'm fucking in panic mode again. I fucking swim. Now I just start swimming and kicking and fucking going crazy. I make my way out of the silt, and I fucking turn around and I'm back on the main line, right? I find the main line to the cave again, which is 800 yards to the front, to the door. I grab a hold of the main line. I fucking reel it in again. Okay. Now, the entire behind me, deeper into the cave is free. It's no problem. Silt free. I can see everything's good. Where I need to go is fucking silted out and blown, gone, completely fucking washed. I couldn't see you sitting there, but I can see everything behind us. I can't see you. I have the main line, but I don't have the jump line to get the fuck out. So I started thinking, I was looking at the cave maps, trying, like, before we went, just try to get a visualize of the direction. I'm trying to remember landmarks, but I can't see anything, and I can't feel, and I'm like, fuck, there was a split up here. So I go back into the silt again, and I start feeling around, and I'm feeling, and I find a hole, and I'm like, is that the right way? Is that the one I want to go down? Where does that one go? Okay, maybe remember. That's not okay. Let's go to this next one. I go into the next one, and now this is where it's got to be. I'm going, but all of a sudden, I'm swimming against the current. And I remember when I came into this cave, there was this very slow current, which is why the entire cave is now washed out from that point on. Right, the current is taking out. So I'm like, fuck, you're swimming against the current, so you're going the wrong way. I somehow work that into my fucking panic mind. Like, we're swimming into the current, we're going the wrong way. So I fucking turn, swim back. I'm back on the fucking main line again, right? I find the main line. It's clear, out into the clear main line. Fuck. I start like hyperventilating and panicking, and I'm thinking, man, you piece of shit. This is how people die. What the fuck are you? Right? And I'm keep reminding, kissing my wife and keep my kids saying, I'm coming home today. I'm coming home. So I do it again. I fucking venture into the fucking great unknown fucking abyss, total blackout. Another panic, fucking freak out. Can't find my way, hitting my head, kicking, losing air by the fucking second, bro. Because now I'm breathing hard, I'm breathing fucking irrational, and I'm sucking my tanks dry. Right? Mind you, I'm on air, so I don't have... There's no answer to this after I breathe my last breath. Keep checking everything, keep keeping my time, looking in direction, time, air, time, fuck, slow down. Now I'm in pitch fucking black. Can't see anything, trying to figure out where I'm at, what I'm thinking, what am I doing? Okay, we're running out of air. How much time do we have, Cowboy? We're at 28 feet. I know we're at 28 feet. I could probably breathe on this for about another hour, on this tank another hour, so we got another hour. Okay, we've been in here fucking 38 minutes already. What are we gonna do? Start trying to find my way out. I can't. I can't. Now I start thinking, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna drown, Joe. Drowning's like my biggest fear of my life. So we have a thing that's called a BC, and we carry it on our back. It's a buoyancy control device. That's how you control your buoyancy when you're scuba diving, right? It probably holds 20 big, huge, strong breaths. So I fill that motherfucker up. This is my plan. I'm gonna fill my BC up, which throws me to the top of the cave. Bonk, right? Now I gotta flip upside down. And I have to like crawl on the ceiling trying to figure out where the fuck I am. Now I got to get out of a cave upside down. And I'm thinking, all right, we've switched to our last bit of air. How are we going to do this, Cowboy? What are we going to do? We filled our BC up. When I run out of air, I'm now thinking in my mind, how am I going to die, Joe? Right? tell my wife, tell my kid, I'm coming home. Now I got to fucking realize, how am I going to die? I have a notepad that you carry in your pocket to draw and write on. I'm thinking, what are you going to say? What's your letter going to be? You're writing a fucking death letter? You're awake. You're a fighter. We figure this out. You don't fucking find a way to quit, you fucking bitch. This is the conversation I'm having with myself while I'm in fucking complete panic mode and complete darkness, thinking that this is how people die. What the fuck are you doing? You're going to write a letter to your fucking kid and tell her how you fucked up? I'm sorry, daddy's not coming home. So I'm fucking thinking, I'm not going to drown. I'm not going to breathe my last breath. So I'm going to breathe this BC that I just filled up with air, and I'm going to fucking breathe it until the oxygen level no longer happens and I just pass out. That's what I've come to realize how I'm going to die. I'm going to fucking just slip away and pass out, keep breathing the same air until I go away. And I start thinking, you fucking piece of shit. You're giving up, like you're having like legitimate conversations with myself while fucking in complete panic. Like you're gonna quit. That you're writing a letter and you're gonna fucking breathe your last air until you pass out. You fucking pussy. You're a fighter. Figure the fuck out. So I'm upside down. I'm crawling on the ceiling. And I remember when I came in. We came in the big cave and there's like a huge fucking crack that runs along the top. Turn both my watches off now at this point because they're giving off light, and I kill my light. And I said, that crack's going to fucking lead to the surface. That crack's going to fucking give us something. So I just start panicking again because I'm panicking and I don't know what to do. I'm sucking air and I'm fucking breathing hard and I'm hyperventilating. And I'm crawling on the ceiling, looking for this fucking crack, and goddamn it, I found it. I found the crack, and I followed the crack, and the crack got bigger, and all of a sudden I see fucking glow, like green glow, crawling, find it, try to get up, my tanks are too big, I can't fucking get out of the little hole. I can't get out of the hole, I'm fucking, bink, fucking hitting, screaming, freaking out. Calm down, cowboy, this is the way, calm the fuck down, reel it in, we're here, we made it. Grab control. Follow the crack some more, opens up, out, boom, there's the cave, fucking I'm out. Made it. You're coming home. You want to talk about, whoa, motherfucking whoa, right? That was the feeling. Meanwhile, my guy's out there. I can't even be mad at him because he panicked, he grabbed the line, he fucking ran out the hole. And he looks at me and he says, so we're not diving together ever again, are we? I said, no, that was it. That was it. And I text my girl, I love you, baby. And today was a fucking scary moment. But daddy's coming home. And it was fucking so crazy because that was, I mean, I've almost died numerous times, but almost dying slowly, which puts it in perspective to me, like, these guys on death row, I always thought, like, yeah, fucking kill a murderer, man. That's... Fuck them. Dude, knowing the time and how much time you have left, that's some scary shit, Joe. Knowing that you have 2 hours left.
How much air do you have left at the end?
Maybe another hour, probably. Hour and some change. But could you imagine I had to talk to myself how I was going to die? Like, to me, that fucked me up. That fucked me up really bad. Like, I probably had to go do some mushrooms and ask myself some questions now because that fucked me up bad. But the inner me, the fighter, you figure it the fuck out. But was I going to write a letter? I was fucking damn close to writing a letter. It was crazy, man. It was wild.
Damn.
Hopefully I explained that good for everybody.
You explained it like a motherfucker. Yeah, I'm nervous. I felt like I was there. Fuck, dude. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
And I'm going to do it again. Like, I'm not scared of it. Like, that, it just needs to be done better. I'll run my own motherfucking line.
Well, it also shows you how important it is, like what your wife was saying. You can't, she knew something. She had a sense. Like,
right.
When people fuck up a lot or when they're just that person that just can't keep it together, you got to be real careful around those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy shit, man.
I mean, that's why people kill those people in war. They just like, look, we can't do this.
Yeah,
You're
we can't.
getting everybody killed.
Yeah, your panic is sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not hanging in there. You've become a detriment. Fuck, dude, that is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard in my life.
I'm glad I got to share it with you. It's fucking impressive.
Episode number 1559. Steve Rinella shares a near-death encounter with a massive grizzly bear.
I like that you think about how long you have left on the planet.
I think you should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wake up, I try to think about that every day.
How like politicians, they'll enter office and they'll make a clock set for like 4 years or whatever, and it counts down. I need to get one of those, like
for life,
for like roughly my life expectancy, and it counts down backwards.
Well, don't you think that your life expectancy? I mean, you are one of the few people that I know that has almost been killed by a grizzly bear.
Well, yeah,
You had a real
in a situation
shot.
like in a brush, yeah,
a real shot.
Something enough where it was scary enough that now that I've studied it a fair bit, that I now know I had a mental. I had like a near death experience mental experience, even though I was unharmed. But it jarred my brain
so hard.
It jarred my the minute or the seconds that occurred jarred my brain so hard that as I've tried to be curious about and study about what happened in my brain, its parallels are all found and it's discussed by people who discuss near death experiences, which might just mean I'm not as tenacious mentally as I'd like to be, but my brain got joggled.
But don't you think that
is joggle the word?
It is now. Don't you think that when you're in contact with an animal that's that large, I mean, a predatory animal that's, how big was it? 10 feet? How big was that grizzly? Easily?
Yeah, I don't want to.
Enormous.
It was like struck all of us, and we've looked at a lot of bears as being like a mature brown bear.
Okay, so
mature Kodiak brown bear.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about. Talk about where you were at, Fognak Island, which is a place that has enormous bears. That whole part of the world is known for some of the largest brown bears on Earth.
Yeah, it's separated from Kodiak by a narrow strait. It's like the Kodiak brown bear being like the world's biggest bear was just a neighboring island, but that specific specimen, I don't know, a mature animal, big.
just huge.
Yeah.
When you're around something like that, where there can be no doubt that you can't get out of the way, you can't fight it off, you're helpless. Like, it must trigger something in your mind where you come to grips with the reality of predator and prey, that you almost were on the menu.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way around that. You can't, there's no rationalizations you could play in your mind when you're confronted with such absolute superiority.
Are you familiar with the term playing possum?
Yes.
Obviously. So our understanding of opossums now is that they're not playing.
They conk out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stress. He's not playing dead. He hits such a stress level that he shuts off. I'm like embarrassed to admit, but I think it's instructive to point out that I was playing possum in that moment, and I don't mean playing.
Yeah.
It possumed me out.
Let's tell everybody who doesn't know the story.
Oh, yeah, so real quick.
Fognak Island.
Yeah, we've been yapping a long time, but we were hunting and had hung a elk up in a tree and left it for a day and a half, all the meat hanging in a tree. Then we're camped a few miles away from there and went back with a few guys to retrieve the meat out of the tree, and a bear had found it. And we were very, very aware that this might occur, and went up and investigated the area around the tree and determined that the bear hadn't found it yet. In fact, the carcass of the animal was laying not far away. It was untouched. In hindsight, there was a pile of bear shit that had been smeared on the ground. And I remember looking at that pile of bear shit and wondering if it had been smeared by a bear's foot or smeared by a boot. And I determined that it looked like it had been smeared by a boot, which would have meant we'd smeared the shit when we were hanging the thing in the tree. And then stupidly, we sat down to eat lunch. And within a couple minutes of sitting down to eat lunch, it came in, the bear came in, and its open mouth passed just 18 inches from my head.
Jesus.
And I was facing away, so I was the last one to see it. Giannis, who you know, he had a pistol, he had bear spray, but he hit it in the head with a pair of black diamond trekking poles. He had sat down. He's got spray and set his pistol on his pack. But then when I talk about like playing possum and all the shit that happens to you, his instinct is to smack it with a trekking pole.
Wow.
Everything you spend all your time thinking about how you're going to handle this, that, and the other thing. Sometimes it's disappointing that you don't handle stress that well. You know, I don't know. I don't know where I went. One of our guys got run over by a bear, rode it down the hill. At that moment, I snapped out of whatever I was in, but it shut me down bad. I even noticed there's a thing that happens to people when they get really cold. They enter a sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy mentality. When you start to get cold, you lose, as you start to get really cold, like where you could be in a hypothermic situation, people stop doing the obvious things that you would do to get warm. And I, as aware of that as I am, and as many times as I've experienced that, I still see it happen to me. I still have to snap myself out of it. Like you're getting cold, you're getting lethargic, you're getting cold, more lethargic, the cold's getting worse. And I have to be like, you can step in right now and stop this. And I have to remind, it still doesn't come naturally. You know, when you talk to people who train, like, you talk to people who train for this kind of stuff, they have to train in a very realistic environment. They have to train to like keep your head, you know, and just like make good decisions. If you walk into like a active car crash scene or whatever, and there's a severed hand laying on the ground, right? Some people are just going to see that hand and they're not going to see anything else. Some people are just going to see chaos and they're not going to focus on any particular thing. But it's like the person can come in, see the hand, see everything around them, like assess all that. It's like, it's just from exposure to that super traumatic stuff. Not that getting cold is traumatic, but I do, when I look at how I respond to things, I do catch that there's like a mentality to practice and learn.
Yeah, it's understandable that something like a bear attack would trigger senses and trigger a response that you're just not conditioned for. I don't know how you would ever get conditioned to a bear attack.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
On that same island, these dudes at the same island, there was some guys, the same island, I think it was later that same year, some operatives, some military guys happened to be hunting there. They got attacked by a bear and killed it.
Really?
Yeah. One of them got messed up bad, but he killed it. I'm like, why'd he kill it and I didn't?
Well, maybe they had their gun out, right? You were in a weird situation too, because if you guys were relaxed eating lunch, like your guard's down, you're sitting there chewing on a sandwich.
I always laugh because I was in the middle of saying.
What?
Like, I was in the middle of a sentence. I'll never forget, because someone was laughing about why we were putting some sandwiches together, and someone was laughing about why my sandwich looked so much nicer than someone else's sandwich. And I said, I was in the middle of saying, if you want a sandwich like this, get your own fucking TV show. But I was never able to finish the sentence. Wow. But I know I was in the middle of saying that when all of a sudden the people around me erupted off the ground as though like a landmine had gone off underneath us.
Whoa.
Because they saw it, and I didn't see it. I was looking the other way.
And it came in running.
Oh, just yeah. That was scary, man. And I've had like fair bit of exposure, and I'm relative to most, a ton of exposure to those things. I got to expose my 10-year-old kid to them this year a couple times, hunting caribou in Alaska, and it was like cool to kind of see his thought process.
You've been exposed to more than 99.999% of the population.
Yeah.
And for it to rattle you like that.
It was disappointing, man, because we're always talking about, I'm going to do this and I'll do that. And we're always like, yeah, I actually prefer the 44 over the 3 because, and if I can't get it done with this, 13, I got 13 reasons he doesn't want to charge me with this semi-auto. It's like all this like bullshit, and all of a sudden it like hits and like, swat it with a trekking pole.
I've only seen one grizzly ever in the wild, up close, and it wasn't a big one. It was like a 6-foot bear, but it looked at me in a way that another bear has never looked at me before.
Yeah,
I've seen black bears. Black bears look at you like, "What are you? Who are you? What's going on? Can I walk by you?" Like black bears look at people in a weird way.
Yeah, they're like denizens of the underbrush, man.
The grizzly looked at me like this. Just locked on me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like that is just a different thing. Like it looked at me like,
"Yeah,
am I eating you? Am I going to eat you?"
Yeah, there's a mindset probably that comes from just not being challenged.
Yeah.
Episode 141, Ash Dykes on surviving the Gobi Desert and encountering wildlife.
What do these people do for a living?
A lot of the is livestock. So they raise their yak, dairy, meats that they'll transport over to the capital city. But they're just out there living the purest way of life. I remember walking through a part of Mongolia. Actually, I went over 8 days without seeing a single person. Over 8 days. I was like, wow, if you want to know what the world was like, I don't know, 2 million years ago, Mongolia is the place that you'll get to experience a bit of that, Just wilderness, just out there.
Did you encounter any wolves or anything there?
Wolves, they were the bigger wolves as well. They were grey wolves. I didn't, luckily. Saw footprints, but you couldn't see whether that was wild dogs or wolves. I had a wild dog approach my tent like 2, 3 in the morning. Just heard heavy breathing and footsteps outside my tent. I'm in the middle of the Gobi Desert alone. Hadn't seen a human in days. And I'm there in the middle of my tent, a knife in one hand, a torch in the other, shaking, adrenaline, thinking this is a person outside.
Oh my God.
I'm shouting and they're not replying. I unzipped it. It's like a wild dog. But it was fine. It wasn't aggressive. But yeah, it was just so... I remember my logistics manager, my Ulaanbaatar-based, my Mongolia-based logistics manager, I said to him, can you imagine how quiet, how silent it's going to be in the Gobi Desert? And he replied, he just said, there's no such thing as silence. So what do you mean there's no such thing as silence? They have like silence rooms, torture, panic room, silence room with the headphones and whatnot. And he was like, I'm not going to tell you, you'll get out there and if you've hit the right spot of the Gobi Desert, you'll know what I mean. And I did. I remember I was just, again, in the middle of the Gobi Desert. I hadn't seen anyone in days. And there was no breeze, there was no flies, there was no people, there was just no noise pollution whatsoever. And I was just looking around. I could just hear this faint noise, almost like a high-pitched humming noise. Very faint, though. And I thought it could be like air leaking from my water container. Could be my trailer. So I walked a few hundred meters away from my trailer and I could still hear it. It took me 5 to 10 minutes to figure it out. That it was like I'm at such the point of silence now. It's so quiet. I can hear my own body functioning. And that's what he meant, that there's no such thing as silence. Because when you're at the point of silence, you can finally hear your own body ticking over. Never heard it before, never heard it since.
Like, what are you hearing?
Just the faintest humming noise. It's almost like coming from the inside. But you can't not hear it. As long as you're living, as long as you're breathing, you're hearing that noise. I went everywhere and I was just like, yeah, nothing about it's my body. It's ticking over.
So how long are you walking through the Gobi Desert here in your body?
Oh no! When you're walking, you can't really hear. It's when you stop, and it's got to be no wind. A lot of the time, it was very breezy. Sometimes there were storms. So
you're essentially walking through a dead area, right?
Yeah.
It's lifeless.
Yeah.
How much water you have on you when you're doing this?
With that, so my container was 20 liters, 20 kilograms, but it was never always full.
That's a lot of weight to carry.
That's a lot of weight. Yeah, a hell of a lot of weight.
Plus, you have all the other stuff.
Yeah, that's why it mounted, really. I think the trailer on its own was 40 kilograms. Don't know what that is, £1, 60, 70 pounds maybe, on an empty load, because it was mild steel. Just built in my family friend's back garden,
Really?
Yeah, just puncture-proof tyres, full rubber. So it was heavy, but it was robust. And then the water container, 20 litres, 20 kilograms. I needed at a maximum load. Yeah. So when I was, effectively, I went through the water when I was really suffering with the dehydration. So at that point, the trailer was a lot lighter. It was under 100 kilograms at that point, but I'm low on water, you know?
Right.
I'm sort of rationing the last remaining dribbles up to where I make it to the community. So on maximum load, 120 kilograms. Water was the biggest issue, and always was the biggest issue. That's why the previous guy was evacuated on three occasions, which terrified me as well. He was a Navy soldier, desert explorer. I was just a scuba diver, Muay Thai, living on a beach in Thailand, you know. So I did have my worries. I did stop planning Mongolia as well because of that. Started to doubt myself, but then at the same time I realised, you know, just because no one's found a way to do something, it doesn't mean it can't be done.
What made you feel like Mongolia was the wildest place?
Probably because it was really close. Like, I'm living in Thailand. My initial idea was get a cheap bike, $10, cycle up to Mongolia, cycle across Mongolia and walk back the other way, or cycle to the start point in the east and then walk to the west. And I thought, you know, if I did that, I would have died. I wouldn't have made it. That was lack of preparation. So that's why I went back home, back to the UK for the right preparation, the right training. And again, as I say, now it's not like Vietnam. The cycle, when it was all very reckless, it was all meticulous planning, detailed planning. And Mongolia, for me, it just struck me as that. I was on the travel route for 2 years at this point, and I'd come across people, they say they plan to go here next, they plan to go there next, or they've come from Cambodia, Vietnam, but no one had ever said Mongolia, really. So I was just fascinated. Home to the Altai Mountains, the Gobi Desert. You got your reindeer tribal community up north. You got your eagle hunters in the west. Your camels down south of the Gobi. And it was just like, this country is fascinating. And from that point on, I was just like, I wonder. Maybe 100 miles, let's walk. Maybe 200. I was like, heck, why not go for the length? Wow. And then I started to look for people who had done it before. It wasn't for any record. It was just for the fascination. That's when I realised I couldn't find any evidence to suggest that anyone had completed the solo and unsupported walk. But I did find the guy who previously attempted. And he was a nice guy. He responded. I asked him what the dangers are. It's a big list. The grey wolves, the drunken nomadic drifters, the stagnant water, the dry wells. Drifters? They can sometimes be a problem, yeah. They'll drunk, they'll go on their holes, they'll roam, and they're big. They're big, the Mongolians. Wrestling's their sport, so they're stocky. It's in their history as well, isn't it, with Genghis Khan, or Genghis Khan as we know him. Yeah. You know, but yeah, they could be an issue. And he just sent this huge list, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll look for a different country. Maybe I'll walk across a European country or something.
Episode number 1247. Andy Stumpf shares the thrill of watching Alex Honnold's historic free solo climbs.
That's another thing that freaks me out is climbing. Did you do much climbing?
I was a lead climber up until the point where I don't have a use of my ankle anymore because of the nerve injury. Oh. And it's funny is I don't like heights.
Did you free solo at all?
As long as I wasn't more than 3 feet off the ground, yes, I'm totally comfortable free soloing and moving laterally, but not vertically away from the ground. Because I watched, oh my God,
Honnold's
I watched that movie 3 times in a row. And here's the thing: I know he's alive. I know he was on your podcast. I listened to it, and in the final scenes, I realized I was sitting there white knuckling my recliner, like my hands were sweating. I'm like, I know he lives, but it still freaked me the fuck out.
Wow.
I mean, that guy.
Yeah, he's something.
But you know what's interesting about climbing is you get the more exposure you have, the less it bothers you. So lead climbing is interesting, especially if you are placing your protection as you go. If it's drilled and bolted.
You're saying league or lead?
Lead, L-E-A-D.
Oh, lead. Like someone's in front of you. You're on a rope.
As a lead climber, you are probably setting the ropes. At least in my old job, you're setting the ropes for the people who are going to follow.
Okay.
Most of the time when you see people, well, not most of the time, but one of the disciplines would be there's bolted routes that go up a rock. So you can just bring, carabiners and put the carabiner through that, and you loop the rope through it, and you're good to go. Mm-hmm. Another aspect would be is you don't use the bolted in stuff, and you basically carry on your climbing harness a rack of gear. So as you're holding on to the rocks, you're trying to wedge a block or a stopper in, or a cam system that it rotates to be smaller, and then as you release, it opens up, and if you pull against it, it locks itself into the rock.
Right.
So you're setting your own protection. And
how much do you trust those things? So
that was the point that I was getting to. Sometimes you get to a place and you're like, this is the perfect piece of gear. And of course, you're only like 6 feet off the ground when the perfect piece of gear. And then you'll get multi-pitches up in the air. It should be 200-300 feet up in the air. And you're a lead climber, so there's nobody above you, and you're setting your own pro. And you're starting to get emotionally involved in the situation that you're in. And
you set a piece of pro, and it's rattling around a little bit. So I don't know. We don't know how good that one's going to be, but we're going to keep climbing. And then the next piece of pro you set, not the most awesome piece, because you're worried about the one beneath you, and you don't want to fall, so you get it in there, and then you just keep climbing. So sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes it's terrifying.
And then you got to think that if you do fall, all that force, if one pops and then the second one pops, you've got a lot of distance.
Well, you got to think it's double the distance. If you're 10 feet above the last piece of protection you put in, you fall the 10 feet to the protection, then the 10 feet past the protection.
Clink, clink, clink.
And then it pulls on the pro. So it's actually double the height that you are above it. It's not, I've been probably more scared out of my mind. Actually, the scariest I've ever been is you lived in Boulder, right?
Yeah.
There's a climb there called the Bastille Crack. It's in one of the national parks. And I was there with a buddy. And it was just me and him and a world-class climber. And I was at the East Coast Command at the time, so budget was no option. I had the newest, shiniest stuff. I'm like taking plastic off of climbing gear to go climb this rock. This guy pulls up in a van with a Marlboro hanging out and tennis shoes that have laces probably on one of the shoes and an old pair of pants. And he's climbed like every mountain ever. So it's me and my buddy. We're climbing our way up. I'm leading this pitch. So you switch. One guy will climb. He sets an anchor. The other person comes up and they pick all the protection out. So you can just switch. And then the other person leads the way on the next one. So I'm like halfway up this pitch and I can't move because I'm losing my shit. I'm like 15 feet above the last piece of protection that I just put in. I'm convinced that I feel my feet slipping off of the rock. I have my hand jammed into the rock, and then you make a fist to prevent it from falling out. You can actually see Alex doing that in free solo as he's climbing up. They'll slide their hand in and then they'll manipulate the shape so it pulls. And as my world is collapsing on me and I'm just sitting there, I've got full sewing machine leg, just sitting there, just shaking. I hear a voice just over my shoulder. He's like, "Hey man, just put the piece of pro right there." And I look over and this professional climber is right next to me with no rope, in his fucking tennis shoes, smoking a cigarette, which is what he was using to point to where I should have placed the next piece of protection. Cool, calm, and collected. And I almost fell off the rock because he scared me so bad. I was so freaked out at what he was doing that I almost fell. I'm like, "You need to get away from me immediately." He's like, "Yeah, no problem." And just scurried up the rock in tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes?
Tennis shoes.
But you're not supposed to use tennis shoes, right?
I don't think it mattered. I think the guy, he was a complete monkey. He just, when you're around world-class climbers, I mean, they can hang on an edge that is like a couple pieces of paper. Mm-hmm. And the Bastille Crack is not a difficult route, so I'm sure there was one right next to it. And he just, as I'm freaking out, he's just sitting there just, "Hey, buddy." And I didn't know he was there. I literally almost fell off because he talked to me.
Smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, he was ashing it. He's like, "Put a piece of pro right here. Get away from me."
That's a different kind of, but I guess it's one of those things where it's like you just
exposure.
Get better at it. You just,
After a week of climbing, you will not feel bad about walking up to the edge and just standing there.
Alex Honnold was telling us a story about one time he was free soloing and he was halfway up and he was in the middle of this journey up this fucking mountain. He realized he didn't bring any powder, so he didn't have any chalk with him. Whew. So his hands are sweating and he's just climbing with no powder. So he met a guy halfway up, these guys that were using ropes and they were doing it the right way and he's doing it with no ropes. And he goes, "Hey man, can I borrow your chalk?" And the guy gives him a chalk bag and he goes, "I'll leave it for you at the top of the mountain." So he takes the chalk bag, passes these guys, "See ya," and just keeps going and then leaves the bag for the guy at the top of the hill. I'm like, what in the fuck, man? How could you start something like that? And apparently he said that once you start climbing, you are committed to climbing. It's
harder to climb down than up.
Yeah. Fuck that.
There's not enough money in the world that would make me attempt the stuff that he does. And if I was a climber if I was feeling like I'm kicking ass.
Feel my hand.
Sweaty?
Feel my hand. Just talking about it. I sweat like a pig.
Dude, I'm telling you, I was watching it white knuckling. And if I was a climber and he passed me and was like, "Hey, do you mind if I borrow your chalk?" I would finish that climb and never climb again.
Yeah, I'd be like,
because
I'm done.
I would realize that I am a complete and utter bitch in comparison to what he is. Like, if that's what's possible, and I'm sitting here like struggling, I'm like, I'm out.
You're also built wrong for it. You know, I think the thin, wiry guys, it's the way to go. He also has like these
gorilla mitts.
thick-ass fingers, man. His fingers are just used to just grabbing. But he also said that he had gone through a series of injuries for the first time in his life, like recently, over the last few years.
Yeah, that was in the movie, actually. He, like a compression of his discs and then a really bad strain on his ankle. And he was told to take 6 months off, and so he just started climbing in a cast.
Sure. It's a different kind of human. I mean, he also lives out of a van. I mean, he's a world famous guy who's living in a van, traveling around, just fucking climbing rocks.
Did you have him on after he had completed that climb? Like they were.
Yeah.
Okay, so he had been successful, and they were just probably editing the project.
I had him on earlier, like years ago.
Yeah.
And then I had him on again recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the guy I would want to talk to is Jimmy Chin, the photographer who is capturing all that.
Oh, he's up there with him, right?
That's the thing. I would want to talk. Well, and he talks about it a little bit more so in the promos for the film, but how sketched out he was to actually be involved and sit there and film, and how much of a burden he felt to like stay out of the periphery and not get engaged in the headspace and make Alex do something different because the cameras were there that would of course cost him his life.
Right. I
can't imagine the pressure of doing that, or just I wouldn't do it. Like if a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, will you come film me?" Free. I would say no, because I would be so afraid of just watching them peel off.
Oh, can you imagine if you were up there filming and you watched the guy fall?
That would be rough. And they're of course good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And
look at that. Look at this guy.
Yeah, this dude is Jimmy. A savage.
Well, he's got his hands on the camera only.
Well, he's got a bunch of stuff. So you see his left foot is in. He's kind of he's kind of secured down there. He's got that carabiner. He's got one going to his harness. He's actually got 2 ropes going to his harness. So he's kind of angled in. There's like a triangle. But he's a world-class climber in and of himself.
Well, he also has a giant-ass camera bag. Look at that big-ass bag hanging from his hip. Look at that position he's in too. Yeah. Oh, fuck all this, Jimmy.
So that's how they get in, that's how they get into position for a lot of it. He's Jumaring. Instead of climbing the rock, he's got basically ascenders that will allow you to push it up and then they lock on the rope. So he's got one leg in there and one arm, and he's kind of Jumaring. We use those a lot of the times as well, but he's a world-class climber in and of himself.
I kind of think you'd have to be, right, in order to
be able to capture that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the team that I think they put together was like 5 to 7 world-class guys, but there's a movie of him called, no thanks.
What is that? What is that guy doing?
He's hanging probably 3,000 foot over nothing, focusing on capturing the shot.
Oh, my God.
I would be focusing on the urine streaming down my leg.
It'd be, yeah. Oh, my God. Soaking your socks.
Oh, God. Like, I couldn't do that. But I could go to the edge of that cliff and zip up my suit, absolutely no problem, and send that off there, and I bet you he would want no piece of that. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
If he's shooting Alex, who's shooting him?
Dude, good question.
Is there a third person? Is Alex
another guy.
Turn around like,
There's
hey,
Mikey. Mikey shooting Jimmy.
In the Free Solo movie, I think they had a team of like 5 to 7 people. They had... So they had long lens, they had people up there, they had remote cameras. I mean, it's a whole... They obviously had drones flying around.
Yeah. Well, there was a film that, besides this film, the recent documentary, which I think is called Solo, right? Free Solo.
Yep.
Before that, there was also a late night, one of those news shows like ABC World News Tonight or something like that. They did a whole piece on him. And they had this one guy who was a world-class climber and said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he falls.
Every innovator in the wingsuit world is dead.
Yeah.
It's, but at the same, I say that and I would totally agree with that, but I also understand why he's doing it. I mean, the end state for all of us is predetermined, and I would suspect, having never talked to the guy, that he would rather meet his end like that than at 80 years old as a geriatric.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, maybe.
But that doesn't ease the burden on the people around him, and that's the piece that was the toughest for me when it came to wingsuit-based jumping.
Look at him there.
It's insane.
What is wrong with that man? But meanwhile, he's such a nice guy. When you talk to Alex in real life, he's a sweetheart. You root for him to quit. Like, look, man, you already did it. Stop.
I've yet to hear him express desire to do so, though.
He's not quitting. You know, I mean, I don't know, man. Everybody's built different.
In episode 944, Scott Eastwood shares an incredible story about his father, Clint Eastwood, surviving a plane crash off San Francisco and swimming miles to safety.
Yeah. You know my dad actually he was in a plane crash in his early 20s, and it was off San Francisco, and he had to swim like a couple miles in that water to survive. Yeah.
Holy shit! He crashed into the water.
Yeah. Most people don't know that. It's
whoa.
It's pretty crazy. He and I'm gonna butcher the details, but just from growing
fake
up.
News.
Fake news, exactly. But what happened was he was in the Army, and it was right around the time the Korean War was starting, and they were flying, they were doing a routine flight or something, and they had to crash land in the ocean.
Whoa.
And it was getting night, and I believed the pilot died, and I could be wrong on that. The pilot died, but the other guy he was with survived. So him and this other guy, they were swimming to shore, and they got split up because it was getting dark at night.
Whoa.
And so then now they're swimming alone. And anyone who knows, San Francisco, it's cold. Yeah, definitely Jaws water.
Dum. That's where they breed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, great whites breed in Northern California. There's like a nesting ground up there.
Yeah.
Fucking
not where you want to crash a plane then.
Not where you want to swim from Alcatraz 5 times either in your underwear.
I know, that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't know. I guess I've heard of that race. They do, but that's crazy he's done that.
Yeah.
Wow. So your dad had to swim 2 miles?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe more. It could have been more.
Fuck.
But it was long.
I'm good for a couple 100 yards.
Yeah, swimming's not
and
easy.
Then I start looking for a log to hang on to.
I think your dad has property in Oregon, or a house or something. Does he?
Not that I know of. We got a ranch up in Northern California. He's had a ranch for a long time up in east of Redding.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm getting
it's in if you don't know where Bernie is and that sort of area up there.
And then
it's
maybe
like Lake Shasta sort of area.
And I think we have a big sawmill.
Yeah.
Right where I live, Warehouser. I think this could be wrong. I think he worked there. Your dad worked at the Warehouser sawmill.
I don't know. I mean,
Jamie,
I never heard that. Look, there's a lot of. I've heard crazy things. I've heard crazier.
Let's see if this is crazy. Maybe it's on DMT.
How often do you get to hang out with him?
Well, I've been busy a lot. I was gone for 6 months in Australia, in China, and then before that I was working on Fast, and then before that I was on a movie. Not as much as I'd like, but he is turning 87 this year, and I'm taking some time off because I really feel like that's an important time in my life to try to be around him.
Yeah, 87.
I know, that's old.
It just happens. You know?
It does.
All of a sudden you're 87.
That's almost 90. It doesn't feel like Clint Eastwood would be almost 90.
Yeah.
I know. I would have thought 70. It's strange. Yeah. Wow.
Because he was just...
So he had you when he was like...
in his 50s.
Damn, 50s. Son.
Yeah.
Just getting shit done.
He's well. I have a sister who's 19. She might just turn 20. No, 19.
Wow.
So he was getting it done.
Even in his 60s.
Yeah.
Slinging it in his 60s. Woo, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was married to that girl who was a newscaster or something, right? And they did a reality show?
Well, she did a reality show, yeah. He wasn't.
He didn't do it at all?
No, he was.
It was in no episodes at all?
Well, yeah, she might have gotten him into an episode.
She might have forced him into an episode?
Yeah,
I remember that was going on. I was like, Clint, this one ain't going to work.
No, that wasn't his thing.
Was he married to who was the woman in like
Sandra Locke?
Yeah, Every Which Way, but
yeah, they were never married.
Oh, they weren't.
No,
okay,
they were married.
She sued the shit out of him though when he broke up with her.
Oh,
that was like a crazy story that he was like blocking her film projects. Like she was trying to claim that, and he was like, "What?"
Oh,
yeah, I don't think he has time to deal with that. Those kind of things.
Well, she had gotten some sort of a deal when they broke up to do like some film projects. It was like part of like the separation deal.
Yeah.
And she was claiming that he was somehow or another blocking them, if I remember the story correctly.
Wow. Yeah. Nothing like a woman scorn.
Look at that. He did.
Hey.
He worked at the pulp mill.
Oh, wow. Well, wait, but that's, who are you reading this? Wikipedia?
Yeah.
I think he did.
Maybe.
Bro.
I'll ask him.
It's all real, bro.
It's on the internet. It's got to be real.
I think he did.
Hey, look, I don't know if you know about Wikipedia, but this is why I know it's real. Because anyone can enter in information and edit it.
Right.
That's crazy.
So it's so 100% rock solid.
So rock solid.
Because why would anybody put something that wasn't true up there?
I think Wikipedia still says Brian Callen's my brother.
Really?
Somebody might have changed it, but I left it there forever.
In episode 2353, Shaka Senghor on surviving 7 years in solitary and transforming his getting out. Episode number 1122, Donnie Vincent on living with wolves and connecting with nature.
You have northern lights at night if you're lucky, and massive moose and caribou, like watching caribou migrate, and grizzly bears eating blueberries. And I spent so much time with wolves up in these areas and really engaging with the wolves and stuff, and it's just always fed these experiences to me. And that's what really started to mean. That's what really mattered the most to me, was being in these areas, taking a deep breath, being super present, being super aware, and seeing all of these different things that were filling my soul, right? True soul food while I was hunting a moose or while I was hunting a caribou, and then maybe being successful on a moose or a caribou and skinning it out and feeling the weight on my back because I'm getting it back to camp, and the northern lights are overhead, or if they're not out, the stars are out, and I'm hearing wolves howling. And I lived with a pack of wolves one summer in Alaska when I was up there doing research, and so all of these.
Lived with a pack of wolves?
Mm-hmm. So,
how'd you do that?
I was doing research for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I ran a research camp, a genetics camp from June through September, May through September, whatever. I did it 5 years in a row, and 1 year, a pack of wolves moved into my research camp.
Whoa.
And it was whoa. I mean, whoa. I went fly fishing one night, and I was standing on the bank of a river casting, and it was an eerie little river that I was on. It's pretty quiet, but it had a good flow, and I was waiting for salmon to come up, and I was fly fishing for grayling. And I just kind of had this eerie feeling. I was by myself, and I just had this eerie feeling that I was being watched, and I happened to look behind me, and there's a big alder thicket, right? These bushes that are probably 10 to 12 feet high, have green leaves on them, and these twisted, gnarly, almost like a Boo Radley type tree, like gnarly branches. And I was just staring in the alders, and there's grizzly bears where I was, so I was just trying to mind I'm walking on wolf and grizzly bear tracks as I'm fishing, so I was just staring back in the alders, and it was like a movie. So my eyes were starting to truncate down on the leaves, and then all of a sudden it came to this little opening. I could see a wolf's face staring at me through the alders, and she was probably 10 yards away, something like that.
Whoa.
And so I saw her, and when I looked at her, she was just staring at me, and I just looked back at her, and I just said, hey, I said, hey, Mama, what's going on? And I just kept fishing, because I wanted her to know that I knew. And I turned my back on her, and I kept fishing. Well, lo and behold, she comes out on the sandbar with me, and she starts walking down behind me. And it was funny, because if I didn't make eye contact, she was totally chill. But if I made eye contact, she would snarl at me. She'd raise her lips up and give a little deep-seated growl. And so she was standing. Now she's probably 3 feet behind me.
What?
Yeah. And so she's right there. She's literally right there. And so I'm just like, hey, Mom, what's going on? I'm just casting my fly rod. And like, when I'm not looking at her, she's kind of trying to check me out. She's doing the whole nose extension, getting a whiff. So she moves off. She moves off down
3 feet?
Mm-hmm. She moves off down.
Do you have a gun on you?
I did have a 12 gauge at that time. I had a 12 gauge slug gun. But I rarely took that thing with me. But I got in trouble actually from one of my bosses, because one of the other biologists told my boss, like, he never carries the gun. And we're supposed to carry a gun everywhere we go. And so I'm just like, whatever. But so she left. And
were you worried that she was going to attack you?
No.
Why did she get so close? That seems weird.
I don't know. Yeah, she was just checking me out. She was just checking me out. That's how I was reading into it anyway.
So you think just by the way you were talking to her that she realized that you weren't even interested in being a threat, and she was confident that she could get the fuck away from you?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question.
3 feet?
Yeah.
That's this. That's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, maybe even 2.5 feet. Like she was right behind me.
That's like you could touch her.
Oh, it gets much better. It gets much better. I ended up spending a whole summer with her and all the other animals in the pack. So the next day, I hear her howl down the river. So I'm just messing around, so I howl back to her. She howls back to me instantly. I howl back to her. All of a sudden, I see her. She's now standing exactly where I was standing the night before. It's all true story. She's sitting on her butt, sitting upright like you would see a German Shepherd sitting, staring at me. So I give her just a little coy little She lays down. She maintains eye contact with me. And then she's just sitting there staring at me. And then she sits up again. And I howl again. Just a little one. She lays down again. She's just maintaining eye contact. Then she leaves. That night, so the area of the tundra that I was on is greatly impacted by even human foot traffic. So you have to be really careful where you step because, your footprint will be there for a long time. So we'd walk on these little planks that we made out of 2x4s that would sit up on logs that were, that we put in place. And I had a tent where I slept, and I had a genetics tent where I did all my stuff. And then I had a cook tent, things like that. And so, but right in front of my tent, I had this little platform where I would get dressed in the morning because I would literally live for 5.5 months in a little 2.5 person pup tent. And so I'd get out in the morning and get dressed on this little piece of wood, and then I'd walk to breakfast or whatever, or to the river. In the middle of the night, the alpha male was sitting on my little platform, and he howled right outside my tent. Dude! And I sat up, and I grabbed my gun, and I was just sitting there, and he woke me up from a dead sleep. I was just sitting there panting with my gun. I was looking all around, and I didn't know what it was. And then I heard something, and I kind of peeked out, and I saw that it was this big male. I was like, okay, it's not just a wolf, but like... he's not going to bother me at all. So I hung my gun back up and or set my gun back down, and I just laid back down. But those 2 instances just started each day. The next day I come out and I'm walking to the genetics tent, and I see him. He's 20 yards away, and he's paralleling me on this plank. And I go into the cook tent, and then I'm kind of like peeking out the little corners, like I want to, because I don't know what they're doing. I don't want to walk out and get attacked, and I don't think they have no body language of hunting whatsoever, and so
what is their body language of curiosity?
Curiosity, yeah, and I hate to
anthropomorphize.
Yeah, but it was just like that movie Never Cry Wolf. That's exactly how the wolves were engaging with me.
What was that movie?
It's just about a researcher, book by Farley Mowat, of a researcher that went up to the Canadian government. They were thinking that wolves were decimating these caribou herds. And so they sent this biologist up there to research the wolves to see how many caribou they were killing. And basically what the biologist found out was that the wolves weren't killing any caribou, 0 caribou. They were killing redback voles, and they were fishing, and they were doing other ways. They were eating small animals, which is basically a very large part of what wolves do. They eat very small animals and occasionally kill caribou, occasionally kill moose, things like that. In certain areas, they can be really hardcore predators. In other areas, they eat a lot of mice. And so... but that's how these wolves were engaging with the actor in this movie. And, they were kind of inquisitive. They were coming around. And so these wolves, they were just always present. Like, even I would go hiking just to get some exercise, and literally 3 or 4 of them would go with me. And they'd hang back like 50, 60 yards behind me. But I'd hike for like 10 miles, and they'd do the whole thing with me and return back to camp with me. And then it started to really grow because we have this research gear that's in the river so that we can count, speciate, and sample the salmon as they swim through to go spawn. But after the salmon spawn, they all die, right? And so they would spawn, die, and they'd come back and they'd wash up on my gear. And so I'd have all these. That's why the wolves were there. They wanted to eat the dead fish that were coming back down. And so as I started to toss fish off on the banks of the river, usually I would just toss them back into the river, but I'd toss them on the banks, the fresher fish. And the wolves started eating them. And then our relationship just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And I ended up spending like 3.5 months with them.
Did you think while you were doing this that this is probably how human beings and wolves developed this relationship?
100%. 100%.
Wow.
100%. And I I feel bad saying this, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but I was working with 2 Inuit guys, 2 Eskimo guys, and they wanted to shoot all these wolves. I kind of lied to them, and I just said, man, like, have you ever seen wolves behave like this? And they said, no. And I said, well, you know, some of your guys' beliefs, you know, fall that your ancestors move on into the animal kingdom, right? And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, is there a chance that some of these wolves could be some of your ancestors, you know? And I know that's not true. At least I think I know that's not true. But they're like, yeah. So I just was trying to convince these guys because they wanted to blast these things. And so I just convinced them not to shoot the wolves. And I feel like an asshole saying it.
Why do you feel like an asshole saying that?
I don't know. I just didn't want them to shoot the wolves. So I just kind of...
It's probably a good way to rationalize it.
I steered them down a path of where their minds may have gone anyway. Yeah. And so, but I spent time with those wolves, and I've had... you know, in the idea of management, like when we were in the short that Jamie was just playing, Who We Are, that we played, you can see some wolves in there. And a few years ago, I got surrounded by a pack of wolves in the Arctic with the crew, and it filmed really beautifully. And it was one of the most remarkable engagements I've ever had in the wilderness. And they were definitely, their body language was definitely looking at us as though, are we food, right? So that was one of them, but we had like 6 or 7 wolves come in behind us. So this wolf would be in front of us, 2 or 3 others would be behind us. But you can see they're not attacking us. They're not even hunting us. But you can just see like they're wondering, you know, is there a play here, right? Is there a play here? And I mean this. I'm not being a tough guy. There wasn't an ounce that I didn't have not a fiber of my body was afraid at any point. And there's probably 6, 7 wolves around us within 10 yards. And they're communicating. They're doing this little like, so they're talking to each other. And then they just moved off. And it turns out that the moose that I was stalking, I think they were stalking too. Because there was a big bull that was bedded. And if they weren't stalking him, because I think they would have had their hands full with him. But if they weren't stalking him, then they were just moving in that general direction. They were for sure hunting. And I've always had a tremendous respect for them, and I've always had time with them. I've had wolf tags in my pocket before. You know, this kind of falls under the same idea of conservation. Like these wolves right here, right? I had a wolf tag in my pocket. I had my bow. I could have arrowed any of these wolves easily, multiples of them probably. But I didn't want to kill a wolf here because they know when another wolf is gone, right? The pack knows. And so that weighs on me a little bit. That's me.
It's also why, right? Like why kill them? Like what are there too many of them? I mean, unless there's a real issue.
See, that was the thing for me is like I didn't do my homework for this area. So I was just like, I don't know if there's a lot of wolves. I don't know if there's little wolves. I'm not going to kill a wolf. I have no interest in killing a wolf. I get a wolf tag with my stuff.
Ranella was telling me that there's one of the explorers that traveled the West during the Lewis and Clark days. His favorite meal was wolf. And that wolf was literally his favorite thing to eat.
I've never eaten it.
Yeah, I would have a real hard time.
I just couldn't.
They're too much like dogs. I think there's some sort of a genetic memory that we have of our relationship with wolves. And they've become dogs, and they've become our companions, and they've become a part of our community.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It wasn't for me. And when the pilot picked me up, he asked me if I'd seen any wolves, and I said, yeah, we saw a lot of wolves. And he's like, he's not, I'm not telling you he's running surveys here, but he's like, yeah, there's a lot of wolves here. There's a lot of predation on moose here. So we're trying to really cut the wolves down here. And I saw a lot of wolves, but I also saw a ton of moose, and I saw a ton of cows, and I saw lots of calves and lots of big bulls. So everything seemed to be functioning in that area. And I also saw a ton of redback voles, right? They look like mice with little short tails. And I know where there's a lot of redback voles, I know the wolves do extremely well eating them. And so you see these little tunnels, right, in the tundra and stuff. And I think wolves eat a lot smaller of prey than people think on average, right? We see sensational things of small dogs or wolves. And we filmed, I don't know did you see the dingo hunt that we filmed in Australia?
No.
Oh my God.
You guys went on a dingo hunt?
No, we were hunting buffalo. And while we were hunting buffalo, dingoes just exploded from the bush. And the dingoes were pack hunting the Asiatic water buffaloes.
Whoa.
Nobody's ever seen it before. Nobody's ever filmed it before. We had the Dingo Institute call us immediately from Australia. We had
how big's a dingo?
Small, tiny, dude. So we filmed all this in Australia. It's literally never been filmed before, to our knowledge. Everyone that we talked to that is dingo researchers, they want to know exactly where this was because they'd never seen this behavior. And see this behavior right here? That was them actually coming in to hunt us. But you can see the whole crew sat down. Everybody was totally committed. They're trying to kill that calf right there. And still that calf is monstrous, right? So there's 4 or 5, 6 of them there. And then they stampede the whole herd directly right into us. That's what you're seeing right here. And the herd actually comes to like 15 feet before they split around us. We're all sitting on our butts. And then the dingoes actually turn their attention to us. And they come in around us. You can see us instantly looking at us as we're a meal. But like wolves, like grizzly bears, like black bears, very quickly they look at you and they go, yeah, this is not going to work out for me. Yeah. They don't want to die. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, nobody had ever seen this before. But if they don't want to die,
why the fuck are they going after water buffalo?
I don't know, dude.
Those things are giant.
Terrible idea. But obviously, I don't know if this group has done this before.
Well, they must have, right? They must have been successful on the calf.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea is that they're going to chase them and wear them out, and that one of the calves is going to be separated, and they're going to take it down.
Yeah. But they're like 35 pounds.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
They're such a small animal. And these calves, even the calves are probably like 100 pounds,
you
right?
See how... Bigger. Yeah. Maybe even 200.
That guy looks Australian as fuck.
The other guy? Yeah, he's barefoot and everything.
Hey, mate.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Look at my hat.
So, yeah,